In the realm of power, Machiavelli never wasted ink on romance. But if you look closer, you'll see that his laws of control and manipulation whisper the secret language of desire. What keeps men loyal to a ruler is the same force that keeps a woman restless for a man. The illusions of love may blind most, but beneath them lies a brutal psychology that can be mastered. To rule hearts, you must learn to pierce through masks, to twist perception until craving bends in your direction. This is not about kindness, nor about fairness. It is about strategy, about weaving emotions into chains, about turning attraction into obedience, without her ever realizing how it happened. Rule 1. Control her perception. Never reveal the whole truth. Machiavelli warned that appearance outweighs reality. What people believe about you matters far more than what is true, and nowhere is this more lethal than in desire. A woman does not truly fall in love with who you are. She falls in love with the idea of you that her mind constructs. She is addicted not to the man, but to the story she tells herself about him. The moment you allow her to see every detail, every flaw, every habit, the spell weakens. Familiarity erodes fascination. Mystery collapses into routine. If she reads you too easily, boredom sets in, and she begins to look elsewhere for stimulation. But if you remain just beyond her grasp, if she senses there is always more beneath the surface, her mind circles endlessly, hooked on solving a puzzle that never quite reveals itself. By curating an image of strength, independence, and subtle unpredictability, you do not simply attract her, you haunt her thoughts. She wonders what you're doing, who you're with, what you're planning. That uncertainty fuels craving. Power lies not in exposing your truth, but in controlling the fragments of yourself you allow her to see. Show enough to spark desire, but never enough to satisfy it. Let her believe you are open, yet always keep a door closed. The less she knows with certainty, the more she invests in guessing. And the more she guesses, the more entangled she becomes. Desire is not born from clarity. It is born from doubt, tension, and the intoxicating need to uncover what still hides in the shadows. Rule 2. Master emotional scarcity. What is abundant loses its value, and what is rare becomes irresistible. Affection, praise, and attention follow the same law as gold. Their worth is determined by scarcity. If you give freely, if you're always available, always affirming, always present, you train her to expect it. And what is expected is never desired. Certainty kills craving. The man who offers endless reassurance is not seen as strong, but as predictable. And predictability is the death of attraction. Instead, turn your affection into a weapon, delivered with precision. Offer warmth when she leans closer, when loyalty deepens, but withdraw it when arrogance or entitlement appear. This rhythm of give and withhold creates tension, a hunger that sharpens her desire and keeps her unsettled. She does not chase because you demand it, but because she has learned your attention is never guaranteed. And when something can be lost, it suddenly becomes priceless. Rule 3. Control the frame. Power is never about words alone. It is about who sets the unspoken rules. If she dictates the pace, defines the boundaries, and pulls the emotional strings, then you are living inside her frame. The Machiavellian man flips this dynamic. He establishes silently what is acceptable, what earns his attention, and what costs it. He never explains, he never debates. His actions and indifference carve the limits without discussion. She feels them without needing them spelled out. When she tests boundaries, and she always will, his response is not anger or pleading, but calm detachment. Emotional reaction is submission. Indifference is dominance. By refusing to be pulled into her frame, he forces her into his. She learns to adjust to his standards, his pace, his world. The frame is always his, and once she accepts it, she cannot help but orbit the reality he designs. Rule 4. Use selective vulnerability. A mask of pure coldness may command respect, but over time it breeds distance, even resentment. Yet too much softness invites exploitation, eroding authority and feeding her instinct to test limits. The Machiavellian man understands that the strongest chains are forged not from unbroken hardness, but from contrast. Power is most intoxicating when paired with glimpses of humanity, but only on his terms. Reveal weakness only when it deepens her emotional investment, never when it serves her power. A calculated crack in the armor makes her feel chosen, as though she sees a side hidden from the rest of the world. This illusion of access binds her tightly, convincing her that she holds a privilege others do not. Vulnerability, used sparingly and with intent, does not weaken control. It cements it. It is not strength alone that captures her, but the rare and selective unveiling of what seems untouchable. Rule 5. Shape the emotional climate. Power is not just in what you say or do. It lives in the atmosphere you create. A woman does not follow logic. She follows the emotional climate surrounding you. If that climate is charged with uncertainty, tension, and subtle anticipation, her choices bend unconsciously toward you. Every pause before you reply, every calculated delay in your presence, every deliberate shift in tone or silence, these are not small gestures, but tools that dictate her emotional weather. Machiavelli knew the lever of human behavior is never reason but emotion. If you can regulate her highs and lows, if you can stir restlessness and then soothe it, if you can create hunger and then feed it selectively, you become the source of her inner world. She orbits not because you demand it, but because her state of mind depends on the climate you generate. Control the atmosphere, and she cannot escape your gravity. Rule 6. Keep desire alive with uncertainty. Certainty is comfort, but comfort is death to desire. The moment she feels she has fully won you, the hunt ends, and with it, her obsession fades. Security dulls hunger. Predictability breeds neglect. The Machiavellian man understands that a woman must never stand on ground that feels entirely solid. She must always sense a gap, however small, between what she has and what she wants. This is not achieved through accusations or open games, but through subtle reminders that he is larger than her grasp. A glance that lingers elsewhere, a life beyond her reach, a silence that cannot be explained, all plant a seed of doubt without a single word spoken. She does not retreat in fear. She leans forward in pursuit. Desire is not born from assurance, but from the restless need to conquer what still feels slightly out of reach. Rule 7. Refuse her emotional traps. Every word, every challenge, every provocation is a test, a subtle attempt to see if you will bend, break, or react. The inexperienced man gives in, he explodes, apologizes, or justifies. The Machiavellian remains unmoved, recognizing that emotion is the battlefield and composure is the weapon. Reacting to her storms signals submission. Calm indifference signals control. By refusing to be pulled into her emotional traps, you reinforce hierarchy without a single argument. Her outbursts, her tests, her manipulations all orbit your response, or lack of one. She cannot dictate your emotional state. She can only try and fail. Each time you remain unshaken, you teach her that the center of power is not her whims, but your presence. Her desires, her anxieties, her pursuits are now framed by you, not the other way around. Rule 8. Become her source of highs and lows. Emotions are chains stronger than reason. If every surge, joy, jealousy, longing, relief, traces back to you, she becomes tethered to your presence, consciously or not. Predictability breeds apathy. Intensity breeds fixation. The Machiavellian man does not simply exist in her world. He orchestrates its emotional rhythm. She may bristle at the unpredictability, yet the more her feelings swing, the more she orbits him, unable to sever the psychological anchor he has established. Loyalty forged through comfort is weak and fleeting. Loyalty forged through intensity is unshakable. When she experiences the peaks and valleys of desire, when her mind and heart chase the highs and brace for the lows, she cannot help but remember you above all others. The unforgettable man is never the one who is merely pleasant. He is the one whose presence alone dictates the emotional climate of her days and the restless hunger of her nights. Rule 9. Weaponize social proof. Desire is rarely born in isolation. The more others notice you, respect you, or even envy you, the more your value multiplies in her eyes. Machiavelli understood that perception is contagious. Status is not just what you hold, but what others perceive you to hold. If admiration surrounds you, it seeps into her subconscious, shaping her desire without a single word. To weaponize this, cultivate an aura of respect and subtle envy. Let others' recognition echo around you. The quiet nods, the lingering glances, the whispered praises. She does not merely want you for who you are. She wants to claim what others clearly value. Fear of losing status, the subtle pressure of competition, entwines with attraction, creating a hunger that is as psychological as it is emotional. You become not just desirable, but irreplaceable. Rule 10. Plant ideas she believes are her own. Direct commands spark rebellion. Autonomy is sacred. The Machiavellian man understands that true control is invisible. It is the art of guiding without appearing to guide. Suggest, hint, question, frame possibilities, and she will begin to chase the conclusions you desire, believing them to be entirely her own. What she resists when imposed, she will embrace when she perceives it as choice. This subtle manipulation transforms compliance into conviction. The more she thinks she is acting independently, the deeper her attachment, the stronger her desire to align with your will. Influence is most potent when it is disguised as her own reasoning. The invisible hand shapes her decisions, her feelings, and ultimately her loyalty, making her devotion effortless, unquestioning, and almost intoxicating in its totality. Rule 11. Create dependency through contrast. Human desire thrives on contrast. Calm alone breeds boredom. Thrill alone breeds instability. The Machiavellian man orchestrates both, creating a tension she cannot resist. By alternating between presence and absence, warmth and detachment, he ensures that her emotional state begins to revolve around him. She experiences highs she cannot find elsewhere, and lows that make the highs feel even more intoxicating. Over time, her internal sense of balance erodes. Stability, excitement, longing, and relief all begin to originate from him. She does not merely want him, she relies on him, unconsciously tethered to the rhythm he sets. Dependency is not manufactured through neediness or demand, but through the subtle orchestration of emotional contrast. He becomes her center, the axis around which her moods and desires spin, and the thought of life without his influence becomes unbearable. Rule 12. Guard your attention like a treasure. Attention is the currency of desire. The more freely it is given, the less it is valued. Machiavelli understood that scarcity creates power. Kings are powerful because they are rare, not because they are abundant. Your time, presence, and energy must feel earned, not taken for granted. Every interaction becomes a transaction of value, every moment with you a privilege, not a right. Withdraw without apology. Return without explanation. By making access to you uncertain, you elevate your worth in her eyes. She begins to measure her actions against the possibility of losing your attention, and the hunger to regain it intensifies. When she realizes that your presence is never guaranteed, it ceases to be ordinary and becomes priceless. In guarding what others dispense freely, you make yourself irresistible. Rule 13. Silence as a weapon. Words are a double-edged sword. They reveal, explain, and often weaken. Silence, by contrast, provokes. When she anticipates a reaction and none comes, her mind becomes your accomplice, filling the void with questions, doubts, and longing. The emptiness you leave is fertile ground for desire, curiosity, and obsession. Mystery is not created by talking. It is cultivated through strategic withholding. By speaking less, you transform from an ordinary man into an enigma she cannot fully decode. Enigma commands attention, fascination, and pursuit. Silence is more than absence. It is a tool that shapes perception, bending her thoughts and emotions toward you, without a single word spoken. Rule 14. Build a world she must enter. Do not allow yourself to revolve around her. Instead, create a life so compelling, ambitious, and magnetic that she must enter your orbit on your terms. Machiavelli taught that rulers maintain power by making others strive to be part of their system. Desire and loyalty are earned, never freely given. By constructing a world that exists independently of her, you position yourself as the center of gravity, and she becomes the one who must adjust. Your life must be the stage, and she merely a player within it. Every ambition, every project, every pursuit signals that you are larger than her reach, larger than her control. To enter your world is a privilege, to leave is unthinkable. The more she invests in aligning with your life, the more bound she becomes, tethered to your presence, your rhythm, and your power. In this way, you are not simply desired, you are indispensable. Rule 15. Demand her investment. Attachment is forged in effort, not in ease. The more she pours, her time, loyalty, attention, and sacrifices, the stronger the invisible chains that bind her to you. Machiavelli understood the power of the sunk cost. Once someone has given too much, walking away feels like loss, not liberation. Desire is strengthened when it requires commitment, struggle, and subtle negotiation. Encourage her to prove herself, to adapt, to contribute to your world rather than expect you to revolve around hers. Each act of investment deepens her entanglement, making her complicit in her own devotion. The more she gives, the less freedom she perceives. The more she perceives she has to lose, the more tightly she clings. Power is not simply possession. It is the art of making others willingly build the chains that bind them. Rule 16. Allow small victories. Absolute control is suffocating. It breeds resistance. The Machiavellian understands that influence is strengthened, not weakened, by allowing occasional minor triumphs. Let her believe she has swayed you in trivial matters, that her opinion or action has mattered, while the true direction, the decisions that actually shape outcomes, remains firmly in your hands. These small victories feed her sense of agency and satisfaction, making her feel empowered without threatening your authority. She invests more, argues less, and unconsciously aligns with your larger strategy. By balancing perceived control with actual dominance, you ensure her loyalty, engagement, and desire, all while she remains unaware that the overarching power was always yours. Rule 17. Anchor emotion to your presence. Human emotion is associative. The brain links strong feelings, excitement, relief, passion, to the person present at the moment. The Machiavellian man leverages this. By appearing in moments of intensity and withdrawing in moments of monotony, he becomes the anchor for her most powerful experiences. She begins to associate the highs of life with your presence and the lows with your absence, whether consciously or not. Over time, this pattern rewires her emotional priorities. She does not merely want you. She needs you to feel alive. Your presence becomes the catalyst for desire, the spark that ignites her moods, and the absence that sharpens her longing. Life itself begins to orbit around the rhythm you set, making your influence both invisible and irresistible. Rule 18. Leave before she's ready. Moments are most powerful when they are unfinished. The Machiavellian man understands that endings shape desire more than continuations. By leaving conversations, encounters, or shared experiences at their peak, while she is still craving more, you transform ordinary interactions into memories that linger, replayed endlessly in her mind. Anticipation becomes a tool. Longing becomes a weapon. When you walk away first, you position yourself as the prize, the one who disappears before being fully consumed. She chases not only your presence, but the emotional rush of wanting what cannot be fully had. Desire thrives in absence, and attachment intensifies when satisfaction is perpetually delayed. By mastering the art of strategic withdrawal, you remain irresistible, untouchable, and the axis of her obsession. Rule 19. Mix pleasure with uncertainty. Satisfaction alone breeds complacency. Tension alone breeds anxiety. The Machiavellian understands that desire is an alchemy of both. By blending pleasure with subtle uncertainty, You create an emotional cocktail that captivates her mind and binds her attention. Rewards become sweeter, attention more addictive, and every interaction charged with anticipation and suspense. If she associates you simultaneously with reward and the faint risk of loss, she cannot detach. Her heart begins to beat in the liminal space between comfort and danger, craving both the thrill of closeness and the fear of absence. Pleasure tied to uncertainty creates obsession. She does not merely want what you give, she craves the unpredictable rhythm you orchestrate, unable to escape the gravitational pull of your influence. Rule 20. Disappear strategically. Absence is the ultimate weapon. A sudden withdrawal after moments of intensity forces her mind to replay every interaction, question every nuance, and crave what is no longer present. Machiavelli understood that people only grasp true value when it is gone. By vanishing strategically, you do not simply leave a void, you imprint yourself on her thoughts, haunting the spaces you once filled, becoming unforgettable through absence. This is not about fairness, nor the illusions of romance society peddles. It is about power, the invisible kind that shapes hearts as surely as it once shaped kingdoms. True control lies not in force, but in perception, in emotion, and in the subtle orchestration of choices until she believes every step was her own. Used recklessly, this influence can destroy. Used precisely, it binds, weaving desire, loyalty, and obsession into a web she cannot escape.